Hey, my beautiful peeps, and welcome to my channel for another Saturday live stream. Today we're finishing up Nehemiah, and I just need to say I don't know why they have this book in the Bible. Um, Rabbi, if you're listening, maybe you can tell me. Um, as far as I can tell, maybe I'm missing some context because this isn't exactly the time period that I'm uh, super um, aware of in the Levant history. So maybe I'm missing something. I mean, yeah, a wall is kind of important if it's an important city, but people have been living there before Nehemiah got back, and they were doing just fine without a wall. So I don't know. Um, anyway, we're finishing up Nehemiah. So, hey, Limited. Oh, God, don't even get me started, Limited. Don't even get me started. All right. These were the priests and Levites who returned with Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, and with Joshua. Sariah, Jeremiah, Ezra, Amariah, Malach, Haddish, Shechaniah, Rahum, Meremoth, Iddu, Ginnathan, Abijah, Mijamin, Moadiah, Bilgah, Shemaiah, Jorib, Jediah, Salu, Amik, Hilkiah, and Jediah. These were the leaders and priests and their associates in the days of Joshua. The Levites were Joshua, Benwi, Kadmiel, Sherubiah, Judah, and also Mattaniah, who, together with his associates, was in charge of the songs of thanksgiving. Bakbukiah and Unai, their associates, stood opposite them in the services. Joshua was the father of Joachim, Joachim the father of Eliashib, Eliashib the father of Joiada, Joiada the father of Jonathan, and Jonathan the father of Jaddua. In the days of Joachim, these were the heads of the priestly families: of Sariah's family, Moriah; of Jeremiah's, Hananiah; of Ezra's, Meshullam; of Amariah's, Jehohanan; of Maluk's, Jonathan; of Shechaniah's, Joseph; of Hiram's, Adnah; Miramis, Helkai; of Edo's, Zechariah; of Ginnathan's, Meshullam; of Abijah's, Zikri; of Miniamin; and of Moadiah's, Piltai; of Bilgah's, Shemua; of Shemaiah's, Jehonathan; of Jehoiarib's, Mattani; of Jediah's, Uzai; of Salu's, Kalai; of Amek's, Eber; of Hilkiah's, Hashabiah; of Jediah, Nathaniel. The family heads of the hang on. The family heads of the Levites in the days of Eliashib, Joiada, Jehonan, and Jaddua, as well as those of the priests, were recorded in the reign of Darius the Persian. And I think I forgot to share my screen. So let me come over here and share it with you. Oh, Limited. No, not on Pink Floyd. I I don't even. I don't think I even remember Pink Floyd. I think I'm too young to remember Pink Floyd. Sorry about that. I didn't get the joke, I guess. Um, and yeah, I forgot to share. Um, no, it was about something else. Sorry about that. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, let me make sure you can see it now. And here we go. Yep, that's it. That is it. Thank you, Limited. All right, moving on. Verse 23, the family heads among the descendants of Levi up to the time of Johanan, son of Elishib, were recorded in the book of the Annals. Oh, by the way, I should have said this before, a long time before. Um, I have no idea why our English language has J's in the Bible. Um, because J didn't even exist back in the time people were writing this. Um, so I don't know. Just to, let you know. All right, moving on. Verse 24, and the leaders of the Levites were Hashabiah, Sherebiah, Jeshua, son of Kadmiel, and their associates who stood opposite them to give praise and thanksgiving, one section responding to the other as prescribed by David, the man of God, Mattaniah, Bakbukiah, Obadiah, Meshullam, Talman, and Akab were gatekeepers who guarded the storerooms at the gates. They served in the days of Joachim, son of Joshua, the son of Josadak, and in the days of Nehemiah the governor, and of Ezra the priest, the teacher of the law. At the dedication of the wall of Jerusalem, the Levites were sought out from where they lived and were brought to Jerusalem to celebrate joyfully the dedication with songs of thanksgiving and with the music of cymbals and harps and lyres. The musicians also were brought together from the region around Jerusalem, from the villages of the Netophathites, from Beth Gilgal, and from the area of Geba, Asmaveth, for the musicians had built villages for themselves around Jerusalem. When the priests and Levites had purified themselves ceremonially, they purified the people, the gates, and the wall. I had the leaders of Judah go up to the top of the wall. I also assigned two large choirs to give thanks. One was to proceed on top of the wall to the right toward the dung gate. Hoshea and half the leaders of Judah followed them, along with Azariah, Ezra, Meshullam, Judah, Benjamin, Shemaiah, Jeremiah, as well as some priests with trumpets, and also Zechariah, son of Jonathan, son of Shemaiah, son of Mattaniah, son of Micaiah, son of Zachar, son of Asaph, and his associate Shemaiah, Azarel, Melalai, Galilai, Mai, Nethanel, Judah, and Hanani, with musical instruments prescribed by David, the man of God, as the teacher of the law, led the procession at the fountain gate They continued directly up the steps of the city of David on the ascent to the wall and passed above the site of David's palace to the Watergate on the east. The second choir proceeded in the opposite direction. I followed them on top of the wall together with half the people past the towers of the ovens to the broad wall. Let me look up something right quick. Um, Sorry, I just thought of this. Just a minute. I may not be able to bring it up. And if I can't, then that's fine. Okay. So, at least in um, Wicca, water is associated with the West. Okay, I will. Um, so, and this may be more than just Wicca. Um, you've got the four cardinal directions, and each of the cardinal directions is associated with one of the four elements. That's what I wanted to look up. All right, moving on. Now we can get back to the business at hand. Um, Verse 39, over the gate of Ephraim, the Jeshanah gate, the fish gate, the tower of Hananel, the tower of the 100, as far as the sheep gate, at the gate of the guard, they stopped. The two choirs that gave thanks then took their places in the house of God. So did I, together with the half the officials, as well as the priests, Eliakim, Messiah, Miniam, Micaiah, Elnai, Zechariah and Hananiah with their trumpets. And yes, I know I'm butchering these names. I'm sorry. I am trying my best. And also Messiah, Shemaiah, Eleazar, Uzi, Johanan, Melchijah, Elam, and Ezer. The choirs sang under the direction of Jezrahiah. And on that day they offered great sacrifices, rejoicing because God had given them great joy. The women and children also rejoiced. The sound of rejoicing in Jerusalem could be heard from far away. At the time, men were appointed to be in charge of the storerooms for the contributions, first fruits, and tithes from the fields around the towns. They were to bring into the storerooms the portions required by the law for the priests and the Levites, for Judah was pleased with the ministering priests and Levites. They performed the service of their God, and thus service of purification, as did also musicians and gatekeepers, according to the commandments of David and his son Solomon. For long ago, in the days of David and Asaph, there have been directors for the musicians and for the songs of praise and thanksgiving to God. So in the days of Zerubbabel and of Nehemiah, all Israel contributed to the daily portions for the musicians and gatekeepers. They also set aside the portion for the other Levites, and the Levites set aside the portion for the descendants of Aaron. And chapter 13. Thank goodness. On that day, the book of Moses was read aloud in the hearing of the people, and there was found written that no Ammonite or Moabite should ever be admitted into the assembly of God, because they had not met the Israelites with food and water, but had hired Balaam to call down a curse on them. Our God, however, turned the curse into a blessing. When the people heard this law, they excluded from Israel all who were of foreign descent. That's just not right. I'm sorry, that's just not right. And people wonder why this ultra Christian shitbag movement is so xenophobic. There it is, folks. There it is. I mean, you want to think Christianity, at least Christians, want to think Christianity is a loving religion. I'm not even going to go there. This is not the time for it. Okay? Moving on. Verse 4. Before this, Elisha the priest had been put in charge of the storerooms of the house of our God. He was closely associated with Tobiah, and he provided him with a large room formerly used to store the grain offerings and incense and temple articles, and also the tithes of grain, new wine, and olive oil prescribed for the Levites, musicians, and gatekeepers, as well as contributions for the priests. But while all this was going on, I was not in Jerusalem for the 32nd year of Artaxerxes, king of Babylon. I had returned to the Sometime later, I asked his pushing back to Jerusalem. Here I learned about the evil thing Elisha had done in providing Tobiah a room in the courts of the house of God. Okay. I have no idea why this is an issue. Um, it might have something to do with the fact that um, Tobiah wasn't a priest. I don't know. Um, so just keep that in mind. I don't know why this is such a problem. Verse 8. I was greatly displeased and threw all Tobiah's household goods out of the room. I gave orders to purify the rooms, and then I put back into them the equipment of the house of God with the grain offerings and the incense. I also learned that the portions assigned to the Levites had not been given to them, and that all the Levites and musicians responsible for the service had gone back to their own fields. Now, that one I can kind of sort of understand, because, I mean, the Levites are supposed to be serving in, the house of God, and if they're not being given their food, they obviously have to uh, grow and pick their own food. So I can see that one. Verse 11. So I rebuked the officials and asked them, why is the house of God neglected? Then I called them together and stationed them at the posts. All Judah brought the tithes of grain, new wine, and olive oil into the storerooms. I put Shemaiah the priest, Zadok the scribe, and a Levite named Pedaiah in charge of the storerooms, and made Hanan, son of Zakur, the son of Mattaniah, their assistant. Because they were considered trustworthy, they were made responsible for distributing the supplies to their fellow Levites. Remember me for this, my God, and do not blot out what I have so faithfully done for the house of my God and its services. In those days I saw the people of Judah treading wine presses on Sabbath and bringing in grain and loading on donkeys together with wine, grapes, figs, and all other kinds of loads, and they were bringing all this into Jerusalem on the Sabbath. Therefore I warned them against selling food on that day. People from Tyre who lived in Jerusalem were bringing in fish and all kinds of merchandise and selling them in Jerusalem and on the Sabbath. To the people of Judah I rebuked the nobles of Judah and said, what is this wicked thing you are doing, desecrating the Sabbath day? Didn't your ancestors do the same thing, so that our God brought all this calamity on us and our city? Now you are stirring up more wrath against Israel by desecrating the Sabbath. When evening shadows fell on the gates of Jerusalem before the Sabbath, I ordered the doors to be shut and not open until the Sabbath was over. I stationed some of my men at the gate so that no load could be brought in on the Sabbath day. Once or twice, the merchants and sellers of all kinds of goods spent the night outside Jerusalem, but I warned them and said, why do you spend the night by the wall? If you do this again, I will arrest you. Your authority, Nehemiah, ends at the wall. You have no authority outside the wall. From that time on, they no longer came on the Sabbath. Then I commanded the Levites to purify themselves and go guard the gates in order to keep the Sabbath holy. Remember for this also, my God, and show mercy to me according to your great love. Moreover, in those days I saw men of Judah who had married women from Ashdod, Ammon, and Moab. Half their children spoke the language of Ashdod or the language of one of the other peoples, and did not know how to speak the language of Judah. I rebuked them and called curses down on them. I beat some of the men and pulled out their hair. I made them take an oath in God's name. You are not to give your daughters in marriage to their sons, nor are you to take any of your daughters in marriage for your sons or yourselves. I'm not even going to go there. Verse 26. Was it not because of marriages like these Solomon, king of Israel, sinned? Among many nations, there was no king like him. He was loved by his God, and God made him king over all Israel. But even he was led into sin by foreign women. Must we hear now that you are too doing the wickedness and are being unfaithful to our God by marrying foreign women? One of the sons of Joiada, son of Eliashib, the high priest, was son-in-law to Sanballat the Horonite, and I drove him away from me. Why? This doesn't make any sense. Remember them, my God, because they defiled the priestly office and the covenant of the priesthood and of the Levites. So I purified the priests and the Levites and everything foreign and assigned them duties, each to his own task. I also made provision for contributions of wood at designated time and for the first fruits. Remember me with favor, my God. Hey, Slade. Um, I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. Yeah. I mean, it's maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's like non canonized books that give background information, but I just cannot see why 13 chapters of Tanakh are dedicated to building a fucking wall. I just don't get it. Anyway, you think they would have had something better to do, like something better to put in rather than this poorly written story. I don't know, maybe it wasn't poorly written for the time. Maybe this was great storytelling at that time. Anyway, excuse me. So, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Um, you can join for as little as 99 cents a month. If you can, it would be much appreciated. You get custom emojis and you get debunks early. However, if you cannot afford it, don't even think about it. And I will see you hopefully tomorrow. I've been feeling a lot better. So, hopefully I'll be seeing you tomorrow. And I will talk to you guys later. And have a good rest of your evening. Bye.